Muslims are constantly misrepresented in the media.
We cannot anymore have a situation where 1.6 billion Muslims are trying to murder the rest of the world.
Misinformation about our deen is spreading far and wide.
Their intolerance of freedom of conscience, their intolerance of apostates, their intolerance of freedom of expression and freedom of speech.
And Islamophobia is on the rise because of this.
You would ban all Muslims?
I would temporarily halt Muslim immigration to this country until we get a grip of the problem.
What about defending the honour of a Muslim woman when she's attacked on the streets? What about defending the honour of a Syrian child who is bullied when they go to their new school in Europe? What are you doing about it? Will you help the oppressed? Now just imagine for a moment, what if we had qualified and experienced journalists who are out there defending Islam and Muslims on the mainstream media, on the TV stations, in the newspapers, on radio and online, reaching millions of people in countering these false narratives about our beautiful religion? What if this Muslim news agency was not just a small online blog, but regulated by an independent non-Muslim body? The reality is that such a Muslim media outlet, brothers and sisters, does exist. But here's the sad part. We've never had the funds that an agency like this really needs and deserves. We reach more than 500,000 people online a month and have appeared regularly on the mainstream media. Your donation will help qualified and experienced Muslim journalists at 5 Pillars to grow and expand our online news agency around the world. With your donation, brothers and sisters, we want to set up our own studios, cover global events as they break, and you will get the reward every time we defend the deen and the ummah on the news. Please do not be like those people who only donate to noble humanitarian causes but fail to see the strategic bigger picture. But what about donating towards something which our beloved Prophet ﷺ said is one of the greatest of struggles? To speak a word of truth at the face of tyranny and injustice. Please, please, please donate just £100 to this campaign. And secondly, please share this video, because sharing spreads awareness and it's free reward for you. Jazakumullahu khairan. May Allah bless you in this life and the next. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my dear brothers and sisters and friends. I pray you're all well, inshallah. I really hope that the opening fundraising video, which you all just watched, wasn't as jumpy and skippy as it was in my end. If it was, we do apologize, inshallah ta'ala. Welcome to another live appeal and live stream for 5 Pillars. Where we have been for the last couple of days, been reaching out to our supporters, our readers, our viewers on Facebook and YouTube and on Twitter and elsewhere, trying to galvanize their continued support, inshallah ta'ala. Brothers and sisters, 5 Pillars is a truly unique project. I always open the live appeal by first explaining how unique we are. There is no other independently regulated Muslim news site run by qualified and experienced Muslim journalists in the English language in the Western world and possibly in the world, right? And at a time where anti-Muslim hatred and Islamophobia has become a normalized, embedded outlook in the editorial policy of hundreds of mainstream national and international news outlets, an industry which is not multi-million but multi-billion in terms of its investment. This is the kind of machinery that we're up against when it comes to trying to change conception and trying to counter the endless lies and defamations against Islam and Muslims that we have to be dealing with on a daily basis for at least the past 20 years. It is up against that, brothers and sisters, that 5 Pillars exists. It is against this machinery that 5 Pillars exists, which began as a mere blog site, right? 8 years ago, in April 2013 was when we launched. And it was from that period that we have achieved so much with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first and foremost, and with the continued support of the Muslim community. Had it not been for the support of the Muslim community, we wouldn't have achieved the things that we have. We wouldn't have got to the places that we have. We would not have achieved the things that we have. From a mere blog site with merely just a Facebook page back in 2013, we now have an audience and a following of nearly 500,000 across Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter alone. We reach on average 3 million people a month, and that's just our average numbers on 2021. We have released research, independent research, the Normative Islam Report in 2016. We have one of the fastest growing and most popular podcasts in the Muslim scene, the Blood Brothers podcast. We have a weekly news show, the Big Picture, hosted by Rasha Muhammad Saleh. We produce articles and videos and infographics. An infographic which actually made it to BBC Newsnight and shook the very chairs of the British government over the LGBTQ curriculum. Brothers and sisters, none of this would have been possible had it not been for your continued support. So it is based on this that we are asking you, inshallah ta'ala, to help us meet a very humble target for all our live appeals. For each one of our live appeals, brothers and sisters, we have a very humble target. Alhamdulillah, we smashed it yesterday, and on our first live appeal, we got very close. It is £500 in one-off donations and £50 in direct debits. Now, some of you may be thinking, "Whoa, that's quite a small target." I hope it is. So therefore, let's smash it and let's reach it within the 2 hours. The reason why we've kept the target small is because, brothers and sisters, we understand that the last 13 to 14 months has been a very, very difficult period for Muslims and non-Muslims alike. People have lost their jobs, people have been made redundant, people's businesses have been crippled, people have been furloughed and not been called back to work. It's just been a very, very difficult 12 to 14 months, and 5 Pillars has also felt the pinch. We have seen a dip in donations, we've seen cancellations of standing orders, and that's absolutely fine in the sense that we appreciate that people can only support us financially based on their circumstances and their financial means. However, brothers and sisters, it is based on this reality of the last 12 to 14 months that we have kept our live appeal targets very humble. We could have come here and said £10,000 one-off and £1,000 direct debits, but no, we want to keep it realistic. We want to keep it sustainable for us and you. So £500 one-off donations and £50 in direct debits and standing orders. We smashed that target yesterday, and we got very close on our first live appeal. Also, this is the last live appeal that we're going to do at this time, which is 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. This is it. This is the last live appeal. All our live appeals for the last 9 to 10 nights of Ramadan will be between 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. British summer time. Now, brothers and sisters, for many of you, today is the 20th Ramadan, and after Maghrib, we will be entering the first odd night. For many, not for everyone, for many. And this is a night, it could be a night which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has described himself in the Quran as a night that is better than 1,000 months. And we're referring to Laylatul Qadr, a night which we actively seek. A night which we actively seek for that extra reward, that multitude of reward. Brothers and sisters, the last 10 nights are upon us. For some of us, it's already started. For some of us, it's going to start tomorrow. For the first odd night, it will be after Maghrib today, British summer time. Brothers and sisters, this is an opportunity, a time where you don't want to miss out. This is why brothers and sisters, they strive and they excel and go above and beyond in these last 10 nights, in their recitation of the Quran, in their ibadat, in their giving of charity and sadaqah towards causes, in their forgiveness and seeking forgiveness. It is in these last 10 nights that we truly seek the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the hope that if we catch Laylatul Qadr, that whatever good we do, it is as if we have done that good action for more than 1,000 months. Just think about that. You make a £5 standing order with 5 Pillars today, and it happens to be Laylatul Qadr. Imagine that multiplied by 1,000 months plus more. Just think about that for a moment. You make a donation of £20 to 5 Pillars or any noble cause, and it happens to be Laylatul Qadr on that night. It is as if you made that £20 donation for 1,000 months plus more, brothers and sisters. That is the level of reward and ajr that we're seeking. This is the kind of deal that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making with his slaves. This is why we should excel and go above and beyond in supporting causes, Islamic causes, giving charity, reciting the Quran, increasing our ibadat, seeking forgiveness from others, and of course begging Allah for his mercy. Brothers and sisters, if you're unable to donate because financial needs does not allow you to do so, then at the very least what I ask you to do is to share this live appeal. And I'm going to give you 30 seconds. So I'm going to share it on my socials, and I'm going to give you 30 seconds for you to share it. Why do I say that sharing is so important? Is because if you share this live appeal, there could be someone from your contacts, from your friends, from your family that may make a donation. And they wouldn't have made that donation had you not shared the video. So inshallah, you will get a reward of that, because we know from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, so that the one who shows someone good, they will get the reward every time that that person does good. So if you share this video, this live appeal, and someone makes a donation from it, or someone else shares it, inshallah, you will get equal reward for it without you actually making the donation yourself. So brothers and sisters, please, right now, I'll give you about 30 to 45 seconds. Please, 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 can you share this live appeal on your social media? Please share it on your WhatsApp and your Telegram groups, and let's kick it off very, very shortly, inshallah. Today's guest is a very special one. He requires no introduction to some degree, but then also requires a very special introduction because of the role that he has played in my life. Roshan did not hang about in introducing you straight away. Like Roshan, you could have allowed me to speak for a little bit before bringing him in. But yeah, you can just stare at the brother's face while I do the sharing on the socials. Roshan, man, he moves like rocket, mashallah. Zui, I hope you've shared as well, bro.
You know what?
Okay, so alhamdulillah. So brothers and sisters, as I already mentioned, please share away. Don't see it as you're losing out on anything. It's important that you share. Because at the end of the day, if Allah has not given you the means to support financially, He's given you the means to have access to social media. So therefore, you know, you should be sharing not just 5 Pillars Live Appeal, but any Islamic causes. And this is advice to myself first sometimes. Sometimes there's a level of forgetfulness, but there's also an element of we're just lazy, right? We don't want to share things because we think that we're spamming people. Well, you know what? We're not spamming people all the time. It's not the case all the time. So please, brothers and sisters, share away, inshallah. And without any further delay, let's introduce today's guest. So today's guest, for those of you who watch the Blood Brothers podcast, is my younger brother and the co-host of the Blood Brothers podcast, Aki Hussain. And just to let you know a little bit about my little brother, there's only 3 years between us. We are very close. We went to school together in terms of, we've just been as thick as thieves, as the English would say. And believe it or not, he was public speaking and doing public engagements way before me. And if you guys were to hear his Proof of Creator talks, he puts Hamza Zorsis to shame. But nevertheless,
That's not true.
okay, but well, I feel that anyway. I think your Proof of Creator and the talks are pretty fantastic. And he was someone who actually used to help me immensely when it used to come to TV appearances and media appearances, because I didn't have this kind of phase where, you know, you would give talks at mosques or university ISOCs, and then somehow you kind of developed into a public speaking role. I went from writing articles straight into media TV shows. And my little brother Aki was always there to give me advice, brutal critical feedback in areas of improvement, but also tell me where I went right. He's a physiotherapist and a hijama practitioner. And he's also the wonderful and much missed of late co-host of the Blood Brothers podcast. And I call him Zui, by the way. If anyone's wondering why is his name Aki Hussain, but did he call him Zui? It's because Zui is a nickname that I call him. Anyway, Zui, assalamu alaikum, bro, and welcome to.
Wa alaikum salam. Wa alaikum salam. Thanks for having me on. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Yeah, good to be on. Good to see you, bro. How's things?
I'm good. I'm good. What's going on?
Nothing much really. Had a bit of a rough night with the little one, but you know, these are she wakes me up for Fajr, so that's good.
So just tell the people what was your sleeping hours today?
My sleeping hours were all over the shop really, but let's say so after praying Fajr, I went to bed, say around 4:30,
Yeah.
4:45ish in the morning, and then but that's when my daughter woke up, and then she was awake. She was awake from 5:15 till 8 a.m. and then I went to bed at 9 a.m. So this is me awake. The day, yes, Saturday didn't end. Saturday ended at 9 a.m. Sunday. And then I got up at 1, something like that.
And I had to leave yours a bit early yesterday. You were hosting, I had to leave yours a bit early because we had a live peel yesterday night. Look, the reason why I brought you on, besides the fact that you're the co-host of the Blood Brothers podcast, which we'll touch upon later on, right? And by the way, brothers and sisters, I keep forgetting, call me 01234 311 311. Call me. Let us know what you're saying. Have you made a donation? Do you plan on making a donation? Make a pledge. If you're unable to, give us some feedback on the work that you've done on 5 Pillars. What do you like? What would you like to see more of? What would you like to see us improve? 01234 311 311. Right, Zuri, you've been. We shared a bedroom. Let's be frank about it. In April 2013, 5 Pillars launched, and we were both living at mum and dad's, and we were sharing a bedroom.
Yeah.
And you've seen 5 Pillars with the Z from day one, from very early on. And of course, I want to just hand it over to you to just describe what you recall in terms of the very, very early days of 5 Pillars. And me, like the work you've seen your brother do as the deputy editor and co-founder of 5 Pillars, from those very early days, the kind of situation, the madness, the equipment, the hours. Tell us, please.
Well, you know what? It's crazy to actually think about it because of where 5 Pillars is today, and because, alhamdulillah, where you are today in terms of covering news and the expertise and experience that you've kind of picked up and developed over the years, it's really difficult to remember what 5 Pillars was like. In a couple of years, it would be 10 years of 5 Pillars. So look, let's put it this way. Me and Dilly, we shared a bedroom for many, many years. We shared bedroom even when there was a spare room in the house. Big one as well, mashallah. So, but look, my earliest and probably the earliest memory of 5 Pillars was when we were sharing our room, the middle room, and you were sat on the floor with some bust up Acer laptop. That's probably got more degrees than all of us put together. That laptop does probably got more qualification than all of us, and probably slept more rough than all of us as well. That laptop has, and I was sat on the desk, which is funny because I think you needed the desk at the time, but I was sat at the desk. I don't know what I was doing. But,
you were also studying at the time.
I remember, because it was just coming up to summer of 2013. It was May. And that was my last year of my degree, physio degree. So I was trying not to fail, and we heard we found out about this about the murder in Woolwich, the murder of Lee Rigby, and then that's how it all kicked off, didn't it? Really, because that was such a huge incident. And it was such a shock and surprise, and it was covered across national media, understandably, and obviously it had all of the labels, Muslim terrorism, a British patriot has been killed in cold blood, broad daylight. Apparently, the assailants dressed in Islamic garments, all of those wonderful tabloid headlines and lies. And alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, it was just a fate, wasn't it, that 5 Pillars was new, and it was Muslim news, and it was trying to be the voice for Muslims, and it was trying to cover Muslim news in a way that is favorable to Muslims, or at the very least honest. So that was it. My earliest memory of 5 Pillars is Woolwich, Lee Rigby, May, Bedford, bedroom. You sat on the floor going mad, making phone calls, calling this person, calling that person, finding out how the news has been covered, what are the facts, what do we know, and me basically playing Robin to your Batman. In a very useful way.
Yes, so I think Woolwich, the Woolwich attack, the murder of Lee Rigby, which was, I believe, May the 13th, was basically the first breaking news story that we covered. So we'd been around for about 4 weeks, and we were kind of producing like just basic news article write-ups and opinion pieces. But in terms of the first breaking story, national, which eventually became international, but the first breaking story was Woolwich. And yeah, your description was very accurate. We were in the bedroom, the attack took place. Breaking stories. Roshan had to go down to Woolwich, or at least attempting to get to Woolwich on the ground. It made sense. I had just finished gym. I got back from work. You were studying for your final year of physio. We were sharing a bedroom, and there was a spare room in the house, or a couple of spare rooms in the house. And it was just madness because we were so under-resourced. It was literally just me and Roshan with zero money. So my days. Let me take this comment. Roshan, leave this comment. Zoo, you know who that is?
Yeah, of course.
That's our brother Zabir from Derby. Brother Zabir, Jazakumullah khair. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Our dear brother has just made £1,000 donation pledge for 5 Pillars and for our brothers at Hugs and our brothers at Cage. I want to say something about Brother Zubair. And while I say something about Brother Zubair, keep the comment on screen, please, Roshan, because I want to just quickly post Charity SOS, which is his organization. And Zubi, you can even share an experience about Brother Zabir, the recent one that we shared with him, inshallah. So,
oh yeah,
let me just post that on the comments. Please support Charity SOS. We're not here about everything about 5 Pillars, brothers and sisters. Those who aid and support us, we're all about aiding and supporting them as well. At the end of the day, we did that with Islam 21C yesterday, and even the brother who made a call and made a £50 donation yesterday, he mentioned K, he mentioned MEND. And these are organizations that have helped 5 Pillars throughout the years, and we've helped them as well. So if you make a donation to 5 Pillars today, please go over to Hugs, go over to Cage, and inshallah support them with everything that you can. But I want to quickly just say something about our brother Zabir, Charity SOS. Brother Zabir is someone who is super, super duper active in the humanitarian sector. He is, I wouldn't call him a mercenary, but I'd definitely call him a maestro. I think that's a more.
He's a philanthropist.
Yeah, that's it. I think a mercenary was a bit too harsh. No, keep the comment. Roshan, can we go back to the comment, please, if you're able to put the comment back up? Yeah, Brother Zabir is, and he deserves this. He deserves this shout out because he is relentless when it comes to aid work, relief work, helping widows, setting up madrasas, very active in Pakistan, very active in Morocco, and he helps various charities. The charity that he has set up himself now is Charity SOS. I've shared the link on our YouTube, I've shared the link on our Facebook. And Brother Zabir recently made a very generous donation to 5 Pillars. This was before Ramadan, where me and Aki actually drove up to see him. And obviously me and Aki being key workers, me being a journalist, Aki, whatever his remit is, we were key workers, we were allowed to travel for this visit. And we visited Brother Zabir, we communicated with him with safe space, and he made a very generous donation to 5 Pillars. And this is someone who doesn't detach politics or doesn't detach da'wah from humanitarian aid work. And this is why Brother Zabir, who's from Derby, is a serious brother who supports various causes. And I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah accepts it from him and makes it weigh heavy on his scales. Ameen. A beautiful brother involved in so many wonderful projects. And his organization, his charity SOS, the link is on the YouTube and on our Facebook comments, should be supported. May Allah accept it from him. And he's always consistently supported 5 Pillars and Cage and Hugs and other organizations. And I love the fact that he never, ever, ever shies away from the importance of giving da'wah whilst doing humanitarian aid work. And he never, ever, ever detaches political solutions from an Islamic perspective when it comes to his aid work. And I also, just in case we've forgotten who also Brother Zubair is, this is someone who's been Schedule 7 nearly 60 times, right? From counter-terrorism officers for doing his work. 60 times the man's been stopped whilst traveling, and he has, mashallah, tabarakallah, soldiered up, and he stuck it on them, and he's never backed down, and always brought the heat on them and stuck it on them. So, Brother Zubair, you deserve this shout out, my dear brother. May Allah bless you and preserve you, so you can continue to support 5Pillars and all the other fantastic organizations that you have been. Ameen.
Ameen.
Zui, so
yeah.
Obviously Woolwich was a madness, and it was literally me and Roshan. There was no one we could call up at that time, because to call someone up back then meant that they'd have to do it for free or for a favor, which we still do here and there. But obviously it's a whole different ball game now. When 5Pillars calls you up to do something, it's different to have we called you up. It was more like, who are you guys, right? And I remember, and please no one get offended by this, I remember someone that we know mutually, an activist, said, yeah, basically 5Pillars made a killing of a murder, in the sense that you blew up, your name blew up as a result. No, it is what it is, isn't it? The Woolwich attack happened, the murder of Lee Rigby happened.
As the phrase goes, you made a killing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was what the person meant. We know what he meant. He meant
the killing.
That 5Pillars has gained traction, and people have awareness of 5Pillars now because of this incident.
Yeah, so that's basically what happened. Not a killing in terms of anything else. A killing in the sense that this is when you lot came to everyone's attention, right? I think why that was is because we had very kind of cringeworthy, very kind of awkward and very undesirable media interviews by the MCB. At the time, the General Secretary was Dr. Murad. Imam Ajmal Masroor, who came on to Sky News and said that Michael Adebolaja would not even smell Jannah, and making crazy. And by the way, we're not the acts of Michael Adebolaja was a criminal act, and one which has no Islamic basis from a normative perspective. But the point is, we had Muslim figures that were coming out and saying equally outrageous things, going out of their way to basically apologize and basically hold the entire community collectively responsible. And you're gone.
I think the murder of Lee Rigby and that entire incident was kind of like the start of this kind of theme and this pattern of the Muslims apologizing. I think Muslims, after the acts of Michael Adebolaja and the killing of Lee Rigby, I think after that incident, Muslims really got a flavor of this cringy apologizing, because everyone came out in their droves, all the organizations and institutes, not all, but the ones that got platform and the ones that probably national media wanted on their platforms, like MCBs and other organizations that, everyone knows, came out and went above and beyond in their apologizing, and in their kind of condemning, to the point where you were saying things like so and so won't go into paradise, paradise and stuff like that. So I think that got our back up as well, didn't it? Not because it's because we just thought that this is not how you cover news. This is not how Muslims respond 100%. to these kind of incidences. It's an act of murder, whether it was in the name of Islam or not. It was 5Pillars moment.
Yeah, it was a 5Pillars moment, because literally Michael Adebolaja is literally telling you, I've done this because you're doing this there. He's literally telling you the reason why he's doing it is because British troops are killing Muslims abroad. So I am now coming to do this. So no one was highlighting that. But I think what happened with the Woolwich incident was there was also a rise of the far right. There was mosques that were being vandalized, and cut the long story short, the Muslim media that was available at the time, whether it was Islam Channel, whether it was anyone else, they just simply weren't doing a great job in terms of covering the grassroots perspective. And the grassroots perspective on incidents like Woolwich and 7/7 and other incidents is that, first and foremost, don't question our moral compass. These acts are un-Islamic. Number two, do not hold the entire Muslim community collectively responsible for the acts of a fringe minority. You never do that with any other faith group. Number three, listen to what the perpetrators are saying. They're telling you that we're doing these things because of what your troops are doing in Afghanistan and Iraq. And number three, if the UK government is very serious about addressing this issue, then have a serious reflection and review of your foreign policy and your domestic policy in terms of counter-extremism. That, generally speaking, is the grassroots mainstream view, right? And no one was airing that. People were too busy apologizing, condemning these guys to the hellfire, and basically Islam is a peaceful religion. It's just the same script. I think it was at that time 5Pillars produced content, we produced videos, we produced vlogs, back-to-end coverage, and that was basically, that was the first time. There is a comment I want to basically read out. It's a brother called Rayhan Rashid from Oldham. This brother has been supporting 5Pillars. He just WhatsApped me. This brother's been supporting 5Pillars literally from 2013. Financially, in terms of sharing our content, he's literally been there since the very, very, very early days. And he just said that, look, he donated £5 yesterday, he donated a £5 today, and he's going to carry on donating a £5 every single day until Eid. And that's excluding what he's giving every month to 5Pillars and has been for many years. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept it from our dear brother Rayhan. I mean, I know that his grandmother was someone very dear to him who passed away a couple of years ago. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah grants her Jannatul Firdaus, widens her grave and unites them in paradise. I mean, and brother Rayhan is someone who's just been there since day one. And it is supports like this that have basically got us to where we are today. Zui, before we start discussing the Blood Brothers podcast, you went to university in Bradford. You are an activist, or at least were at one point quite active in
Well, I don't understand what you're trying to say by that.
Okay. After graduating from Bradford,
activism takes many forms and it evolves, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Mr. Green saying.
Okay. In terms of your interaction with Muslims from the Midlands and the North, your friends, your contacts, who are activists themselves and du'at, did you see a sudden growth of 5Pillars organically outside of the family home?
100%. It took a little bit of time because, like with new things, you have to understand. I was the brother of the deputy editor, and I wasn't a part of 5Pillars myself. I just saw it more as I just had a love and affinity for it because I knew it was something so important to you, right? So, and I knew obviously what it stood for, what the service it was trying to provide, and it's absolutely critical for the Muslims to have a independent media news and provider and platform that represents the views and thoughts of Muslims. Especially, you need that regardless. All people and communities need that. But when there is a global, when there's global interest to represent Muslims in a certain way, no one needs more defense than Muslims, especially in the media. So yeah, as a student at university, 5Pillars kind of started towards the end of my degree. But let's put it this way. As 5Pillars started to cover more news, more headlines, more kind of big national stories, as you started to get invited to give the views and thoughts of Muslims and 5Pillars on news channels, whether it was Muslim stations or whether it was national Western stations or whatever, I started getting those messages. People started saying to me, okay, what's going on here? 5Pillars, this is huge. And then that just kept growing and increasing year by year. So we're talking 2014, 15, and then before you know it, 5Pillars is a massive source of news for the Muslim community now. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, and may that be the case for many, many, many years. So my friends, and their friends, and people that I don't even know, know about 5Pillars before they know about me or who I am or who you are, which is what we want. That's the whole point. The point is that it's the news and the representation, not the people.
Alhamdulillah. Listen, brothers and sisters, before me and Aki start talking about the Blood Brothers podcast and how that began, before we play 2 special video messages from 2 guests that we had on the show, I want you all to dig deep. I know there's not many people online. We kind of expected that because this was the last of the 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. live appeals. We appreciate the 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. Live appeals are more popular, hence why the next 9 to 10 live appeals will be at that time. But for those of you who are watching, share this video. It won't kill you. It won't harm you in any way. Share the video on your Facebook. Share it on your WhatsApp and Telegram groups. Forward it to your friends and family on your contacts. And if you're unable to donate, that is a form of sadaqah, brothers and sisters. Yeah. Look, and if you are able to donate and you're hesitating, you're holding back, you're thinking, you're contemplating, you're not fully convinced, let me explain something to you. The Prophet ﷺ said that the most beloved acts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are those that are small but done regularly. Yeah? So even if you're not in a position to make a huge one-off donation or a big standing order, brothers and sisters, even if you were to donate £1 or 2 or a £5, whether it be a standing order or a one-off, make it regular, because these are the most beloved acts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let me tell you something else. Allah tells us in Surah Al-Baqarah that spend in good from what you have been given, and you'll be repaid in full, and you will not be wronged. Allah is telling us that the wealth that we have, to spend from that wealth in good causes, and that we'll be repaid in full, and we will not be wronged. So this wealth that we have, brothers and sisters, that we hesitate when it comes to giving in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when we think about, and we think, somehow, this will make me poorer. We also know that hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where he said that giving sadaqah does not diminish your wealth. Rather, giving sadaqah and supporting Islamic causes purifies your wealth and it cleanses you of your sins. So brothers and sisters, give generously. If you happen to be online right now, we haven't got many people online, but nevertheless, we've got 13 on YouTube and about another 20 on Facebook. That doesn't matter. We can multiply that. If 13 times 13, I don't know what the maths is, but if 13 people share this video, there'll be more that'll tune in. If the 20 people we got on Facebook share this video, there'll be more that'll tune in. So brothers and sisters, please donate generously. The link is just above my screen, www.5pillarsuk.com/live. Our bank details are below if you want to make a transfer. And for those of you who want to make a donation via PayPal, that's also there. I think it's paypal.me/5pillarsuk, but nevertheless, just double check. It's on the ticker below. And call me. Why isn't no one calling me today? I don't understand. I had bare phone calls last night, loads of phone calls. I haven't got a single phone call today. Can someone call me, please? Doesn't have to be about a donation. I'd like for it to be about a donation, but just call me. Give salams. Tell us what you like about 5 Pillars. Tell us what you'd like to see more of. Before I ask Roshan to play 2 testimonial videos from 2 guests that we've had on the Blood Brothers podcast. Now, Blood Brothers podcast is the official podcast of 5 Pillars. The first episode went out on the 24th of May, 2019. We're fast approaching our 2nd anniversary. And there is going to be a special 2nd anniversary podcast that we're going to do. Tell me very briefly, before we go into details later, about the exponential growth of popularity of the Blood Brothers podcast.
Well, I didn't. Let's put it this way: the Blood Brothers podcast in my head wasn't going to be what the Blood Brothers podcast has become. That's the truth. Blood Brothers podcast is what it's called. I think it's a fantastic name as well, alhamdulillah. But it all started off with me and you. You instigated a discussion. You instigated a conversation for some reason. I don't know what possessed you. At 11:30 at night, I was coming into your house innocently. I think I was just coming to say hello, or get some food or something. And you started to attack me. And you started to bombard me with these scenarios and these subjects and these questions. And And you started, it was a role play. You know, for those who have heard the story, we've mentioned it in the earlier podcast where, you know, the genesis of the Blood Brother podcast started with Dilly saying to me, hey, do you know what? If you had a young, confused, disillusioned Muslim brother who had these thoughts and ideas that were violent, he was aggressive, he was emotional, he was charged, he was wired, and he really wanted to do something with that energy that could be dangerous, yeah? And he thinks he was doing it for the name of Islam. How would you, you know, regulate this person? How would you try to de-escalate, you know, these thoughts and ideas and these motivations? What would you do, Aki? And I mean, that's an important question, an interesting thing to ask generally, but we started having the role play.
And that's what you call, and just in case you know, counter-extremism or MI5 officers watch this live, this is what you call grassroots countering violence.
Absolutely.
Yeah? Yeah.
Absolutely. I want you guys to know, anyone who's watching this, as Dilly says in the Blood Brothers podcast intro, for family, friends, and foes, for those foes who are watching this, who think that, you know, Muslims need to do more in terms of tackling extremism or you know, problematic views in the community. There's Muslims at home who talk about this daily. There's Muslims at home who work with their community around the clock. Yeah. So look, we had a role play. We spoke about it. We thought, you know what, we can have
2 seconds. But if you recall that night when we were in my living room, it was as a result. Two of the things. It was either the Shamima Begum story,
It was Shamima.
or it was a family from Luton that had basically the entire family went there and they all got killed. So and I think
Yes. It was the latter.
Yeah,
It was the Luton family. It was Luton family. It was a brother. I think he took his whole family or something, didn't he?
His whole family, they all died out there. And I said to Zui, I said, how would we deal with this situation where a Muslim young man, has got, you know, certain grievances that many Muslims will have, but he wants to now channel it and think it into violence. And that was the kind of, that's where it started, isn't it?
Yeah. Alhamdulillah, and almost 2 years on.
Would you say, with respect and with humility, that we are unique when it comes to the Muslim podcast scene?
I mean, I would say that, but I want the viewers, you tell us, guys, you know.
Well,
comment, give Dilly a call and give him your thoughts on the Blood Brothers podcast.
Well,
I think our podcast is unique. I think our podcast, the best way to describe my views on the podcast or commentary on the podcast is, I think Blood Brothers is a sample. Our guests and what we discuss is a sample of the Muslim community. You know, when you do research and you want to get a good representative sample size, I think our podcast, subjects and guests, is a more of a true and honest indication and window into the Muslim community.
100%.
Here in the UK.
100%. Roshan, if you're in the back, there is a comment that I'd like you to post. It's from our brother Muhammad Wakas. When you get the moment, can you please post that comment so we can just talk about that comment? So Muhammad Wakas is a brother from Birmingham, and he goes, Blood Brothers podcast, hands down the best podcast, period. With a by the way, that's not why I wanted to post a comment, it's what he says afterwards.
That's absolutely why you wanted to post. I'll be honest, yeah.
No, I'm not exactly. I'm fasting. So I'm saying it's the latter part of his comment with a diverse guest list, everyone else. They even had DJ Noreen Khan from BBC Asian Network. Big up to Brother Muhammad Wakas, always showing us love and respect and critical feedback from the Midlands. May Allah bless you, my dear brother. He's also very active when the parents were protesting peacefully in Birmingham against LGBT curriculum. And that's it, really, isn't it? The reason why I believe the Blood Brothers podcast is reflective of 5 pillars is because our motto is what are Muslims thinking. It's not necessarily what are practicing Muslims thinking or what are conservative Muslims. It's just what are Muslims thinking.
That's right.
5 pillars can't claim to be truly representative of the Muslim community if we're only willing to host the devout and the outwardly practicing, right? Obviously, there's certain boundaries and lines that we do have, as in like, if we bring someone on who's either not practicing themselves outwardly or part of an industry where it's haram, you're not going to promote that on our podcast. And what will most likely happen is that we're going to stick it on you in a respectfully brotherly way and get you to contemplate, essentially give dawah on camera and off camera. And I do believe that it's unique. I believe, first and foremost, we're one of the only Muslim podcasts, I believe, that hosts sisters, of course, with the mahrams present or with the permission of their walis. We're the only Muslim podcast that kind of, branches outside of the kind of ulama, du'at, activists, and even Muslim well-being bubble. We've had boxers, we've had MMA fighters, trainers, we've had drill artists, we've had a variety and a diversity. We've had people who don't believe in COVID-19, anti-vaxxers. We've had a serious professor and a virologist from Canada. We've had serious guests. We've had the Don Corleone of linguistics, Professor Noam Chomsky, an episode that we dropped after Friends of Harami. Do you understand? So there's no messing about in terms of our diversity. We've had Muslims and non-Muslims alike, young and old, men and women of a diverse spectrum. So I think that what essentially began as a conversation between you and me in my living room, and then the first 4, 5, 6 episodes, tell the people we had one camera, what was the other angles? Tell the people.
Well, it was unbelievable, wasn't it, really? I mean, again, the Blood Brother podcast, its journey has been like 5 pillars. Yeah. Look, before I talk about the equipment and how things were quite basic to begin with, we had one camera, and then we had your phone. Was it your phone or my phone?
Both our phones, bro.
Both our phones. Yeah. I mean, we had some tragic mistakes and some tragic accidents, like really, like truly ridiculous. I mean, if there was ever to be a Blood Brothers documentary, on like, the start and life of Blood Brothers, there would be some serious bloopers. But alhamdulillah, you live and you learn. But I just want to say about the podcast, right? That I think what's a massive thing about the podcast is that we bring on people that we disagree with.
Oh, 100%.
And
I would say maybe half of the guests we disagree with.
Most of the guests we either outrightly disagree with most aspects of what they say and believe, or there is a vibe. There's an element of disagreement on various subjects, even with the ones that we probably get along with or have a lot of similarities with. Disagreement is a theme, that runs through kind of like positions with us and our guests, and I think that's amazing. And I think it's very easy to bring on a guest or bring on guests that your podcast will essentially be an echo chamber of views and things like that, and giving each other underarms on comments and subjects. I think Blood Brothers, we are surprised ourselves many times with podcasts that we delve into subjects that we didn't even expect. Same with ask our guests. If you ever look, any of the viewers on the live appeal today, if you ever bump into any of the guests that we've had on so far, ask them, what is it like being on the Blood Brother podcast? Is it scripted? Is it planned? How much of it are you able to prepare for? Ask them.
It's a madness.
And that's what makes a good podcast. We had some basic equipment, man. But alhamdulillah, things are much better now. We've got a great team.
Things are much better now, and it's important that we give a shout out to, first and foremost, Sim from the Mad Bumlooks, who, without him coming down with a mixer in May 2019, it wouldn't have happened. And shout out to our brother Jamal J. Richards from Nightscape Productions, who was with us for the very first 4 or 5 episodes.
Yeah.
Big up to Dilwar Hussain, who was our main cameraman and editor for like the first 15 to 20 episodes. And of course, we had the man himself, Mohsin Mustan, who is now our main cameraman and audio guy and editor. And
also responsible for almost sending me to hospital.
Yeah. Good Lord. Yeah, let's start thinking about that. Roshan and brothers and sisters, before we play these 2 videos, I'm going to play 2 videos of 2 guests that we've had on, right? And obviously they've got something to say about 5 pillars, so let's hear what they've got to say. So brothers and sisters, before we play these 2 videos, the Blood Brothers podcast costs. It costs money. It costs to film. It costs to edit. And sometimes it costs to cover the guests in terms of their travel, right? I'm going to be brutally honest with you. One episode, if we were to film and edit one episode and release it within 7 days, it costs £250. If we film an episode with 3 to 4 cameras and it gets edited, and these episodes are anything between 50 minutes to 2 hours, right? That costs £300 if you want to release that episode within 5 days. That's each episode. Do the maths, right? People are not going to film and edit 1-2 hour podcasts, right, with 3-4 cameras. It costs money. So brothers and sisters, please donate generously. The link is just above my screen, 5pillarsuk.com/live. There's also the 5pillarsuk.com/donate, whichever one you want to feel like, /live/donate. It's going to take you to the same page. Please donate generously. And if you're unable to do that, please share this video. Roshan, can we please have the 2 testimonial videos that I sent you from our 2 guests? When you're ready, please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. 5 Pillars is an independent media platform which caters for the needs of the Muslim community in Britain and in the West in general. It highlights key issues of importance which serve the Muslim community and help give them a voice in an age where unfortunately the Muslim people have not been given such a voice by mainstream media streams. To support this organization, this company, is one of the most important things to do, to give Muslim people a voice in a media capacity. So I hope everybody is very generous this Ramadan with 5 Pillars. I know the brothers very personally, and I know that they do a great job and they are very competent in what they do in that organization. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum, guys. The media, Muslims, Islamophobia, terrorism, extremism, you know the drill. As Muslims, we've just kind of learnt to live with this sort of stuff. But we know that in order to progress forward, we need to have and support our own platforms. And that's where 5 Pillars comes in. It's a very unique organization, independent, qualified journalists presenting the view of the Muslims as well. We need more. We need more. And as you know, these multi-million-dollar backed news corporations that have and that are working together in unison, and then you've got 5 Pillars. So 5 Pillars has us, has Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So let's support them and let's do what we can for the ummah and for sending the right message out there. Be generous. Till next time, Assalamu alaikum.
Brothers and sisters, that was 2 testimonial videos from our brother Muhammad Hijab, the very prominent and well-renowned debater, author from Sapiens Institute. And the second testimonial video was from our brother Zishan Ali, aka Small to Jannah, 2 very valued early guests of the Blood Brothers podcast. If the video and the testimonial lagged, I apologize. There are perhaps some internet issues. But if it didn't, then I hope you guys listened to what they said in terms of the importance of supporting 5 Pillars. Let's quickly just touch upon Muhammad Hijab. And when we had him on, he was our episode 2. And he was actually our first, because you have to understand, 5 Pillars at the time only had 1,300 subscribers, right? So he was the first kind of viral popular episode. Yeah. He had just come off the back of the David Wood debate. He had just come off the back of the Cosmic Skeptic debate that he did at Oxford with Abdullah Nadusi. He was in a huge high, and we had him on. And that was the first podcast that hit 20,000 views on YouTube very quickly. And it was very popular in the Mad Mamluks. What do you think of Hijab in terms of having him on as our second guest, and of course having him on straight after Ramadan?
First of all, if Hijab is watching, assalamu alaikum, my brother, and brother Zishan as well. First of all, he took up a lot of space in that room. I remember his knees were rubbing our knees. MashaAllah. Yeah, no, it was great, wasn't it? The brothers are so driven, so motivated, and they're so keen to do whatever they can with their time for the sake of Allah. Whether it's a debate, whether it's a presentation, whether it's a lecture, a workshop, whether it's a discussion, speaker's corner, whether it's a podcast. So they're there putting the work in, and you have to admire that, and that has to motivate and inspire people. So yeah, Mohammed Hijab, he's a great guy to be around. He's a mashallah fantastic brother, and an absolute a giant, both physically, but also may Allah preserve him in his knowledge and his awareness as well of the deen.
I mean, do you want to just quickly just explain to the viewers and listeners, obviously, because beyond the people who are watching live, there'll be others that will be watching afterwards. The schedule for that day would be filmed. Do you remember?
Let me tell you, yeah. I imagine people have had more brutal schedules. I imagine you probably had some more.
No, that was pretty brutal. Because if you remember, I drove from Newcastle.
So yours was your part of that schedule was particularly brutal, right? But it was just we were new to this podcast game. You see, so we were like, look, we've lined up 3 guests. Yeah, we've got Hijab, we've got Ali Dawa, and we've got Sheikh Muhammad Usman. Yeah. And it was like, we've got the 3 of them together. They're in the house. Ramadan, fasting, long day, talking, dry mouth, talking hot. The house is hot, lighting's all over the shot. We're filming on basic equipment, 1 camera, 2 phones. Muhammad Hijab and Ali Dawa fighting over FIFA. All sorts happening. Yeah, and it's just conversation after conversation, and you have to keep your energy levels up, because you're having like 1.5 hour podcast back to back. Yeah, you're talking to Sheikh Muhammad Usman about some incredible subjects and stories for an hour, and then you need to go to the toilet and you just pray, and then you've got Hijab, then you've got Ali on, and then Ali's talking about his fight against far right extremism. And then you've got Hijab on, and Hijab going to talk about something else that's going to require a lot of your attention, and you have to dig deep for that one as well. So yeah, that was a long day. Alhamdulillah, that was a blessed day as well. And those are the days that built Blood Brothers today.
100%. Those were the days that built Blood Brothers, and I tell you that day I drove back from Newcastle. I left just after Fajr. I left just before Fajr. Drove 224 miles from Newcastle to Bedford, knowing that we had an 11 a.m. start for the first guest. We had Sheikh Usman, Hijab, and Ali. Jamal came down. It was just an absolutely hectic day. But that's it, man. I think when we think back at Blood Brothers, similar to 5 Pillars, we will think back to these kind of insane days. Those early days which kind of made us. And the very fact that we shot the Blood Brothers podcast, pretty much straight after those specific episodes, we ran a campaign. If you remember the 2019 5 Pillars campaign, where we hit £125,000 with the permission of Allah, and then bang, things changed. That's it. New equipment, new camera, things were changing. But obviously, I think we were still kind of making certain rookie mistakes. I think we were being somewhat, I wouldn't say lazy, but I think we were quite chilled out for the first 10 episodes. The popping next to the mics, not getting mic covers, simple things. I think we could.
We're rookies, bro.
Yeah,
we're rookies. You have to accept that, But
but I think the content was
our industry.
I think the content was 10/10 though, without a shadow.
Yeah, definitely.
The arm wrestle, the barn, the abandoned thumb.
How many podcasts do you know that brings on these kind of notable, respected, famous, renowned, deeply followed individuals, whether they're from an Islamic background or un-Islamic background, or whatever the background might be. You have a conversation about whatever it is, pretty intense and personal to them and us, and then you invite them to an arm wrestle after that, or you give them something really spicy to have that they remember you for the rest of the day. So you know, that's pretty unique. Yeah, next time you have to get Noam Chomsky and invite him onto a podcast in person and give him an arm wrestle.
Give Noam Chomsky an arm wrestle. Wow,
that'll get some views, wouldn't it?
Brothers and sisters, look, the Blood Brothers podcast is one output amongst many things that 5Pillars does. We've produced over the space of 8 years more than 15,000 news articles, opinion pieces, videos, and infographics. That's a lot. It's a lot of content. If you were to go into the 5Pillars back-end WordPress, you would see the articles and the number of posts since 2013. It's 5 figures. It's serious. The Blood Brothers podcast is one output amongst many things. We have Roshan's The Big Picture. We have the Blood Brothers podcast. We have independent research, which we've published, the Normative Islam report in February 2016, a groundbreaking report about a consensus of normative Islamic views amongst influential Muslims. We sent Brother Bilal Abdul Wahid within 36 hours of the Christchurch massacre from Sydney to fly out to Christchurch to cover that story, and he made it to one of the main press conferences with the I forgot the New Zealand Prime Minister, her name. He made it to that press conference. He met that superhero, that Afghan brother who confronted that cowardly murderer with a card machine and chased him out whilst he was gatted up. We were in a position to do all of these things, could cover the Shukri Abdi story back to back, to support the parents in Birmingham protesting. We were able to do these things because we had the means and the resources and the finances to do that. If you want us to continue doing those things, and not just continue, but do it at a more optimum and to increase that output, we need you to support 5Pillars this Ramadan. We need you to donate generously. The link is just above my screen, 5pillarsuk.com/live. If you want to make a bank transfer, the details are there, the sort code, the name, the account number, and the IBAN. Call me. No one's called me today. I feel quite lonely. There's on YouTube, we have at the moment, on YouTube, we have 19 people. And on Facebook, we have 21. Why hasn't no one called me yet? My phone was blowing yesterday. I was getting so many phone calls. Not a single person has called me. I got a few text messages, but no one's called me. So please, brothers and sisters, donate generously. Yeah.
Brothers asked me if we accept cryptocurrency.
Do we accept cryptocurrency? No, we don't. Unfortunately, we don't.
Unless it's one full Bitcoin.
Someone's calling. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You're through to the 5Pillars live online appeal. You're speaking to your brother Aki Hussain. Who am I speaking to? Who am I speaking to, and where are you calling from? Yes, Muhammad Wakas, my dear brother. What's going on?
Actually watching it, the first one, yeah.
Jazakumullah khair, bro. How's Rosé going for you, bro?
Alhamdulillah, they're all good. This was the little one in hand, showing him as well the 5Pillars. He's not really having it. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, I've made more donations.
Allahu Akbar. Jazakumullah khair, bro.
Inshallah, I'll be sending a direct debit as well soon.
Much love to that, my brother. May Allah make that way heavy on your scales and your mizan, my dear brother. And I know that you and me, we've had conversations via Instagram. We've had conversations where we've both shared experiences of financial difficulty and hardship with one another. We both know, we both discussed. We recall those conversations. You recall those conversations.
I'm surprised you recognize my name.
Now, of course I recognize you, my dear brother. Why wouldn't I, bro? You're someone, I'm not about that life, bro. If I've had a personal relationship with someone and whilst I've not met them, I'll remember those conversations. And I remember me and you both talking about how giving sadaqah and doing halal hustles to improve our financial situation is something that's important, that's something that's needed. And sometimes when things aren't going our way, it can get quite, disheartening. We had those conversations. And the fact that you've always given when you can, when you've been in a position to do so, not outside of Ramadan, I know you've given. And it just shows that, my dear brother, is supporters and well-wishers like you, my dear brother, that really keep us going. And I mean that seriously, bro. And I pray to Allah that all the sadaqah that you give and all the good deeds that you do, that it's accepted and it's weighs heavy on your scales on the day of judgment, my brother. Ameen. Ameen. So what's for iftar today?
You know
what mix are you having today?
The dal one.
Yeah, the dali bora, yeah?
You know, bengan. I don't know what you call bengan.
Bengan, innit? We don't bengan, innit? Oh, is it aubergine?
Yeah, bengan sauce, pakora sauce things. It's quite different, obviously.
This is a Bengali iftar.
My Bengali sister, and obviously us being Bengalis, he has a specific interest on our podcast, especially Mr. Naga. You know, he'll tag us on Instagram, showing that like the mix up of the food. He's having the fusion that he's having. Mashallah. So you're having dali bora and fried bengon. Basically, that's delicious, bro.
What the fuck is that?
Bengon. That's basically bengon, and it's the same, but basically like a bengon pakora. It'll have like a certain. Yeah, and dali bora is basically lentil, but it's our lentil pakora. Yeah, mashallah, bro. May Allah bless you and your family, your children, bro, and jazakallah khair for calling in. And of course, let me tell you something, bro, and I'm taking this live, and people are going to watch this. When we interact on Instagram, and you always give me feedback on the podcast, and brother, it's very much appreciated. It's not a thing where man forget those conversations because I'm having so many of them. Yes, I'm having so many conversations, but I'm trying my utmost best to remember those detailed ones, and you are definitely one of those people. And inshallah, when I'm in Birmingham next, we will be linking up definitely, my brother.
I
can't have one today, and in ways, I've talked to your size and your frame sometimes. I'm not sure whether how it pan out, but I'm confident I'd do you. But nevertheless, with us, inshallah, we can settle that matter.
Inshallah, but yeah, do let me know when you do come in. Pop down.
I will do, my brother. I will do, my brother. Keep us in your du'as.
Yeah, inshallah, always, inshallah.
Love, my bro. Assalamu alaikum. That was oi. Life hack. Keep that one here. Please keep that one here, Roshan, yeah? But before I discuss who life hack is, Brother Muhammad Waqas Zawi, he's one of them kind of old school supporters. You know, them guys who have been there from day one. You know, we have Blood Brothers podcast fans who come when a guest of theirs that they like, they come to see their sheikh, their activist, their group, their favorite drill artist. That's when they'll come. But then there's those who watch it irrespective of the guest, the topic, the duration. And we have them, and our brother Muhammad Waqas is one of those brothers. And he's been there since day one, following us, giving me feedback, having certain conversations with me on Instagram. And it's guys like this, bruv, solid support since day one. Life hack, what can I say? First and foremost, can everyone who's watching this podcast, this live appeal right now, go over to the Life Hack YouTube channel and press subscribe. Please do that right now. I'm going to give you 10 seconds to do that. Go over to life_hack. Go over to that channel, subscribe. That is my dear brother, Dr. Saeed Ibn Iqbal, Hafidahullah. He is from the NYM Inc. Dawah organization in West Canada. It is these brothers who gave me the great honor and the great izzah to come and invite me to Western Canada and to participate in United Islamic Awareness Month, the Canadian Dawah Conference, and the various Dawah activities that they're doing. In fact, if you're going to donate to 5 Pillars today, please go over to NYM Inc. and make a donation, and go and follow Life Hack on YouTube and on Twitter, and even follow our brother Dr. Saeed Ibn Iqbal. Dr. Saeed Ibn Iqbal, Hafidahullah, and our brother Dr. Omar Shindal are brothers in Western Canada, and these guys are dedicated to the Dawah. Dedicated. You know when you know someone's dedicated? Is when they give their savings and their wealth for the cause of the Dawah. That's when you know people are serious. And so we know that there's not that many Islamic groups that do that. We know what, one or two that they give literally from their wealth to the Dawah and to their cause. And it's these guys. So brothers and sisters, please Follow our brother Dr. Saeed ibn Iqbal and his Life Hack podcast on YouTube. Follow them on the socials and make a donation to NYM Inc. inshallah. After you've made a donation to 5PillarsUK.com. Brother Dilly, when will I come to the bank? When will I come to Bangladesh again? I plan on coming to Bangladesh this year at some point. Aki will never go to Bangladesh. He's a waste man like that.
One day. I've been already. I've been a couple of times.
I do plan on coming to Bangladesh, yes, this year, inshallah. I'm just hoping for the COVID situation to get better and the weather to get a bit cooler, but I definitely plan on coming to Bangladesh at some point this year, inshallah. Didi, what do you think about the rebellion in the south of Damascus earlier this year? Was there a rebellion in the south of Damascus earlier this year, or are you talking about the uprising in the Damascus Gate in Palestine? I'm not sure. If you're referring to the uprising of the Palestinians in the Damascus Gate, which is very recent, then may Allah bless the Palestinians. These are people who confront the occupying, cowardly Israeli soldiers who have guns with their bare chest. Truly, they are a blessed people.
I think that's what they're referring to.
Hi 5P, please don't host anti-vaxxers. Those imbeciles can be taken seriously. Spreading disinfo against masks and vaccines, they're bullshit. With tarnish your image as a proper news site. Okay, so I think what you're referring to, Brother Bob Oscar, is the podcast that Aki did with Kate Shemarani. And look, I don't care what anyone has to say about Kate Shemarani's view. She's a good woman. She's a devoutly Christian woman. And she is very supportive of Muslims and Islamic causes, and she's very critical of how the Christian faith is practiced. But of course, she has certain views which are widely seen as problematic in light of the pandemic, which I think Aki did a fantastic job in scrutinizing and putting it. Was that one of your favorite podcasts, by the way, Zuri?
Oh, absolutely. Look, Kate Shemarani, a natural nurse in a natural world. The whole point of bringing on
that with her motto as well. You're a mad guy.
The whole point of bringing on Kate, or if you have conversations with anti-vaxxers, or if you're talking about anti-vaxxers, and you bring them on, you give them a platform. It's not because you want people to hear what they've got to say, because you think that there's value in what they're saying. There could be value in what they're saying as well. Yeah, there could be in some things. But the point is that we are a podcast and we offer a platform, and we wanted to speak with people that we don't agree with.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why we made a very, very specific disclaimer at the end of the podcast that Dilly filmed afterwards, explaining that these are not the views of 5 Pillars or the Blood Brothers. And we absolutely encourage everyone to follow public health guidelines and to follow the UK government in following the guidelines, restrictions, and all of the rules around coronavirus. Yeah, and we've said that, we've always advocated that. But it was a podcast, and we want to debate. We want to challenge those views. We want to challenge those views. This is what we say the same thing, don't we? To people who attack Muslims or attack Muslim ideas, that engage with us. Don't just talk about it. Don't just write an article or a blog or make a video. To debate us, challenge us. So yeah, the whole point of bringing on these people who have these kind of controversial views is to say, what is the view in it? What are you talking about exactly?
Before I kind of wrap up your contribution, your segment for today's appeal, Zuri, bro, we're gonna start seeing you more on the show now, on the podcast, because legit.
Yeah, of course. Look. If I've not been able to be on the podcast, it's for good reason. Trust me.
Okay.
It's good. I've had many. The last kind of 6 months has been very, very busy with various personal and professional commitments. But inshallah, that will change, and you'll see more of me.
Is it just a coincidence that whenever there happens to be a drill artist on there, you don't have these professional inconveniences and commitments or social inconveniences? Huh?
Pure coincidence.
Oh God. All right, cool. Before I let you go, B, 3 questions. Your favorite podcast, hands down, out of 58 or 59. Your favorite podcast.
Favorite podcast?
Yeah.
What, just one, yeah?
One. Has to be one podcast which you have to pick from all of them. Like, you know what? In terms of content, conversation, discussion, the guest himself or herself, this was the podcast that stood out for me as a co-host, as well as from a conversational point of view.
That's really hard, man. It's one of 2 or 3.
Go on then. Say the one of 2 or 3 then.
Firas Zahabi.
Standard.
Frenzo, Harami.
Okay, cool.
Omar Isa. And I'm probably, because I'm such a big fan of combat sports and MMA, and Firas Zahabi is, I've looked up to Firas Zahabi since I was a kid, following combat sports, and he's an absolute hero of mine, and an absolute master and expert in what he does. Firas Zahabi, number 1. It was a fanboy moment as well, so
it was a fanboy moment for both of us. The most challenging guest, the most, and by challenging I mean maybe not necessarily interested in their particular background, what they're involved in. The conversation wasn't really that firing, or that it was a bit orcs. The most kind of like challenging guest.
Yeah, I'll say 2. Interestingly, they're both women, and I think a reflection on that would be and the reflect. Well, here's the reflection. Here's the honest reflection. The honest reflection is that there is naturally going to be a barrier in how much you can engage and interact with the opposite gender as Muslim men. You can't have the regular banter and kind of flow of conversation and style of how I speak and how I engage with my guests, because that's my personality, and I can't for religious reasons, of course. So that is going to impact the podcast, isn't it? You know, that's just life, isn't it? And also the actual subject as well. You know, so for the 2 guests I'm talking about is Sister Inai Rana Modestry, who's our first female guest. Which I enjoyed that podcast in many ways as well, but it was challenging because I had to navigate. I had to find a balance between being a fun and interesting host, still quite early on in Blood Brothers, but also
episode 7 or 8 that was
exactly. But also finding that balance in challenging certain views and challenging certain positions in a respectful, kind way, and not coming across attacking or antagonistic. So that was difficult, and also there's also naturally I don't have an interest in many things that she has interest in, like fashion, like beauty, like stuff like that. And the only thing I was interested in is maybe the side of her being a parent. And the other one is Kate Shamrani. Kate Shamrani, why? Because it was our kind of COVID series where we were doing podcasts virtually like this. So that was difficult. That was interesting. Kate Shamrani is not the best when it comes to technology, so. That was challenging as well. That podcast almost never happened, guys. So, yeah. You're welcome. Yeah, and also because Kate Shamrani is someone who's just very, very headstrong. Yeah, and even when you highlight by many people's standards that what you're saying, Kate, or anyone, is just not correct. It's just factually not correct, and must be challenged, and it's baseless, and it's conjecture. It's difficult if they turn around and say, well, these massive World Health Organizations are all gangsters and criminals as well. So then what ends up happening is this: I don't believe you, you don't believe me. I don't believe you, you don't believe me. So that was challenging. But yeah, absolutely love for us a hobby.
Zuri, just before you go, my brother, just on a kind of final message to our viewers, listeners, supporters, the Muslim community, bro. What would your message be to them in terms of the importance of supporting 5 Pillars in Ramadan, especially as the last 10 days are here, the first odd night for many tonight, and just general support for 5 Pillars? Your final words, my dear brother.
Brothers and sisters, friends, respected elders. Aisha radiallahu anha, she said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would excel himself in good deeds and worship more in the final 10 days of Ramadan than he would in any other in the former parts of the month of Ramadan. And in the final 10 days, he would apply himself to worship in ibadah in a way that he wouldn't in other parts of the year. So I encourage all of you, young, old, men, women, to donate generously to 5 Pillars, and donate generously. And I say that because you've watched the videos of Muhammad Hijab and Brother Zishan from Smile to Jannah, and I'm sure you're going to see more videos as the month continues of the unique work that 5 Pillars does. Yeah, and I have a very 5 Pillars has a very close kind of place in my heart because my brother is is so close to 5 Pillars, and I see the work firsthand and behind the scenes and everything else. So I know the hard work that goes into it, and I see the blood, sweat, and tears, and the late nights, and the verification of news, and the reliability of sources, and everything else. And this requires financial support. This requires donations. This requires sustainability. So, as Allah Azza wa Jal says in the Quran, "Anfiqu mimma razaqnakum," give from what we have given you. This wealth that Allah has given you is from the blessings He has given you, along with your wealth and your health and your family and everything else. So give back to the deen. 5 Pillars, the work that 5 Pillars do in giving a voice to the Muslims and representing Muslims and the affairs of Muslims in a way that is true, accurate, factual, and favorable to Muslims at a time where we are absolutely slaughtered, bombarded, and maligned. Is there ever a time where we need an independent Muslim news outlet than we have for as long as we've known, really? So support 5 Pillars, donate generously, give from your wealth, and Allah Azza wa Jal will see your act, He will multiply your act, and you will, inshallah ta'ala, see it on Yawm al-Qiyamah, and inshallah ta'ala, it weighs heavy on the scales of Yawm al-Qiyamah, that you were able to support an organization that supported the Muslims worldwide. So give from your wealth.
Keep us in your du'as, and I'll speak to you soon. I'll see you shortly, inshallah.
Inshallah. I just want to say wa alaikum salam to my cousin.
Oh yeah,
he sent us a message.
Okay, so this is
Bangladesh.
So this is mine and Aki's first cousin in Bangladesh. Yeah, so our paternal aunt's youngest son, Jahed. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Give our salams to Fufu and everyone, my little cousin. Love him to bits. So yeah, Zui, jazakallah khair for your time, my little brother, and I'll speak to you and I'll see you shortly. We need to bring on our next guest. Take care, bro. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Take care.
Brothers and sisters, before I introduce today's next guest, please just listen to what Aki had to say. This is what everyone's been saying. Listen to what Brother Muhammad Hijab said, and Smile to Jannah said, and all the testimonial videos that you've been seeing from mashayikh, from activists, from a spectrum of Muslim figures in the community, as well as our work itself. Yeah, we are here to defend Islam and Muslims in the media at a time where there is a daily bombardment and defamation, an attack and a devaluing of of the things which are sacred to us for no reason. Preemptive attacks. Past 20 years, it's just been preemptive attacks against Islam and Muslims by a machinery which is multi-billion dollars, and here we are trying to fight this good battle alone. Support us, 5pillarsuk.com/live. Our bank details are below at the ticker, and you can also make a donation by PayPal. Call me on 01234 311 311 with +44 dialing code if you're calling from outside the UK. Our next guest is a journalist, an activist, a brother who's made some videos for 5 Pillars that have gone viral on YouTube and on Facebook. He's a dear brother and a dear friend of 5 Pillars. He's a close associate of Roshan Muhammad Saleh, and he is someone whose videos I like watching because he seems to always rear up the Islamophobes and the racists. And that is our brother Ahmed. Assalamu alaikum, Ahmed. Wicked to have you on, my dear brother. What's going on?
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you for the kind introduction.
How's Ramadan going, my brother?
Alhamdulillah, it's going good. It's going good. I'm wearing a Manchester United top because I know 5Pillars are both hardcore Liverpool supporters. So I thought it'd only be right and only be accurate. But Ramadan's going well. Inshallah, it's going well for you as well.
Alhamdulillah, bro. Listen, let me just ask you something. There's two videos that you particularly made that went really viral on 5Pillars. There was one that was in Speaker's Corner.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then there was obviously when you were at the airport, you saw Paul Golding and you stuck it on him, right? Tell us first and foremost about those two particular experiences and why 5Pillars was a befitting outlet to obviously post that, publish that, and obviously subsequently went viral.
All right, I'll start with the Paul Golding one, and I'll start with your last question first. The reason why I sent it to Roshan is because 5Pillars is unapologetically Muslim. So, you know, if you're going to post it on 5Pillars, it's going to motivate other Muslims to not be scared of these guys.
100%.
A lot of these guys are like middle-aged, under 5 foot, alcoholics, out of shape. They're good at challenging old imams in mosques who are kind of isolated. But when they see a young, healthy guy like myself, they're not so keen for the confrontation. So with Paul Golding, I was doing a news story about the North Belfast seat, and I'm at the airport in London, Gatwick, and I look behind me and I see Paul Golding. And I don't know about you, I'm sure you felt the same way. You know, when you saw those videos of him going into the mosques in Bradford, all I ever said was, if I ever see this guy, or I'd love him to do this in front of me. There was another video that really touched me. He went to, I think it was Dover, and he confronted some Sudanese refugees.
Yeah.
And that one really bothered me. That one really bothered me because they could barely speak English. And the first person, or one of the first people they see is Paul Golding saying to him, "You're not welcome. The British public doesn't want you here." And he's saying it to him because he knows these are people that have probably been on a boat for how many days, not well fed, haven't eaten too well. And here he is giving this hostile message. So obviously if I see him, I can't help myself. I wasn't planning. Despite the videos on 5Pillars, I don't go looking for trouble. But Roshan's laughing because he might disagree. I don't usually go looking for trouble. I'll say usually.
It finds you.
Trouble just finds you.
Finds me. So I look behind me and there's Paul Golding, and I do that thing which a lot of people do. I go, "Are you Paul Golding?" And he nodded, and his missus that was with him went, "Shh," and I went, "Shush, I'm not shushing. You're not quiet when you go into Bradford Mosque with your shoes on. You're not quiet when you're running up and down harassing refugees and Muslims." And then he's like, and then he said to me, which is a lot of the stuff he says is illogical. He goes, "This isn't the time or the place. The London terrorist attack just happened. There was just a terrorist attack that just happened. It wasn't on the bridge. It was the one where the guy went, maybe I can't remember which one it was. The terrorist attack just happened." He said, "This has just happened. It's inappropriate. You shouldn't be saying this stuff. You shouldn't be saying this stuff." So anyway, he called me. I think he called me a terrorist in the queue. I don't know how he knew I'm not. Most people that can't tell that I'm a Muslim, let alone assume I'm a terrorist for some reason. And then I called him a white supremacist. Yeah. And then one of his supporters, who was traditionally uneducated and ill-informed, says that's racist because she heard the word white and thought me calling him a white supremacist is a racist slur. Didn't quite comprehend what the term meant. And then I was on the plane and basically I thought to myself, I'm in an airport, I'm on the plane. He was sitting next to the toilets. Every time I went to the toilet, he would stare at me, I'd stare at him, but I didn't say anything. I kind of thought, I said what I needed to say, it was done. I'm not going to kind of challenge him at Belfast when we land. So I landed in Belfast airport and he was there for a court case for some other kind of bad behavior he'd been up to. So a lot of his supporters were there. So as I went to go get my bag, about 5, 6, 7 of them, they went, "There he is." But these guys were all about 4 foot 8, all got the shakes. Don't look in. So I think they thought because there's a lot of them, I'm gonna do a runner and they're gonna kind of have the upper hand. So when he went, "There he is," and I walked up to him and go, "Yeah, I'm here. What's going on?" So then he starts calling me ISIS, terrorist. I say probably a bit over provocatively that his friends killed Joe Cox. And then we're just kind of having a back and forth. And yeah, that's it. But the worst bit about all of this, 7 or 8 people come up to me in an airport. I'm on my own. I've got a female camera operator with me who suffers with anxiety. So she went and sat down. So it's basically 8 versus 1. The police come up to me and the police arrest me on the spot, even though I'm on my own. I'm on my own and there's 8 of them. And luckily there was a Muslim brother who was in the airport working in security or whatnot, baggage handling. And he tries to explain what has happened. And the police officer basically tells him to get lost and says, oh, that's not what the witnesses are saying. But the witness testimonies are all part of the Britain First group. Oh. So obviously they all start going up to the police saying he did this, he did that. But the police didn't understand that actually these were all part of his circle. So after I sent the video to Roshan, we was in a bit of dialogue because now I've got like a case of me allegedly attacking Paul Golding. So I'm like, should you post it? Should you not post it? But luckily for me, once the rest of the people around saw what was happening, they went and made statements, and then basically it was dropped. So that was the Paul Golding situation. And the Speaker's Corner thing.
That video's got, I think, more than 150,000 views.
With the Paul Golding or the Speaker's Corner one?
The Speaker's Corner one. The Paul Golding one did quite well on YouTube, but the one that the Speaker's Corner one got like 100,000 plus. It's on our viral list. Tell us about
yeah. It's because it was I saw these people around Tommy Robinson, and they're always, for some reason, they always catch those amongst us that can't intellectually defend themselves. So I thought, okay, here we go. I saw these guys. I was trying to just have a debate. Let's see what's happening. But in the 150,000 views on Facebook, most of them were obsessed with the fact that I was wearing a flowery top for some reason, rather than what I was talking about. But that video has actually got me in a bit of trouble because I went to, when Tommy Robinson was at the Old Bailey, I put my hood up and I went to do some secret filming, and people kept coming up to me and going, "Are you the guy from Speaker's Corner?" I was like, "Speaker's Corner? I've never even. Where's Speaker's Corner?" So they all recognise me from the 5 Pillars video.
Yeah, and tell us what made you think that. Obviously, I know you just touched upon it earlier when you said the reason why you sent it to 5 Pillars was obviously we're unapologetically Muslim, and obviously it will instill confidence amongst the Muslims to see this kind of content. Would you say that's reflective at a time where basically the Muslims are getting battered in the mainstream media, so it requires this level of kind of, I mean, we can call it confrontation, but it's also instilling a level of empowerment and confidence amongst 100%. That we shouldn't be scared of these guys, really.
100%. We have to be proud of who we are. That's why I know you're a UFC supporter. That's why we were so excited with Khabib versus Conor McGregor, because he wasn't just, Conor McGregor was trying to make him feel ashamed of his faith, and Khabib says in response, says, "Alhamdulillah, I'm gonna destroy your boy. Alhamdulillah." Be proud of who you are. Don't make the enemies of Islam, the enemies of black people, the enemies of Muslims, make us be ashamed of being black or being Muslim. Be proud, wear it on your sleeve. And I think that's why I sent it to 5 Pillars, because I knew that it can, that there are times where Islamophobia is so rampant in this society that it feels like, I've heard family friends say, this country isn't for me. I'm going to go back to Sudan. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go here. But no, this is for people that are born here. This is our home. We should make it our home. We should be proud of who we are and defend what we believe and how we want to practice our deen.
Can I ask a question? Can I just jump in, ideally? Assalamu alaikum, 5 Pillars viewers and readers. I have been in the background all the time, although I've just popped up on the screen now. Let's shake things up a little bit, Ahmed, because obviously you're a bit of a YouTuber. You're prominent on Twitter and all the social media platforms, and one of the things that you talk about a lot is race and blackness, and you are a proud black man. What do you honestly think of 5 Pillars when it comes to black representation? Because I won't comment on this at the moment, and Dilly's going to come in, I'm sure, a bit later. But we have been criticized from certain people for not giving black people a fair crack of the whip?
Can I just quickly say something?
No. Let him respond. Then you say something.
No, it's about the video. If anyone wants to see Ahmed's video that we're talking about, it's called Muslim Confronts Tommy Robinson, 22nd of September 2018. It's on 157,000 views. It's a great watch. Over to you, Ahmed.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not great, but I don't think that's necessarily the fault of Lee Hussain and Roshan Saleh. I think the fact that you don't have a black person working alongside you means that inevitably you're not going to get the issues that are happening in the black community. For example, a lot of Muslim organizations, I feel like Africa as a continent is completely neglected. When there was Christian militias in the Central African Republic, that's not something that the Muslim community concerns itself with. We've got a very Middle Eastern centric view of Islam. Somalia, Sudan, Nigeria, these places, the SARS protests in Nigeria, these things don't seem to concern the larger Ummah outside of Africa. And there's a problem with the dynamic, which is something that you're not responsible of. It's where if you post about Africa, it's probably not going to get the same likes and hits and shares as if you post about, say, Palestine, Syria.
Yeah.
So there's it's kind of like a it goes full circle. If you don't post about it because it doesn't get likes and likes and shares. And the reason why it doesn't get likes and shares is because not enough people know what's actually happening there. So yeah, diversity is an issue, but you guys are still, inshallah, this organization will be going on for many, many more decades. That's something that your children's children will be able to click on. So this is still the early stages. As your team gets bigger, I'm assuming that you will get more kind of representation of the different aspects of the Muslim community. Probably a sister should be joining the team at some point, inshallah, because at the moment in the UK, particularly the vanguard that are fighting Islamophobia are Muslim women. So you'd want to kind of see their voice represented a bit more as well. So yeah, it's not, in short, it's not great, but it's not your fault.
Dilly, can I can see that the live stream is a little bit unstable. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to remove myself from the stream and let you guys continue the chat. And inshallah, that might improve the stability a bit. I'll just sign off by saying, you know, from my perspective, I do think that obviously as Muslims, we are a minority and we're discriminated against. And I guess black Muslims, they get it double, don't they? They get the Islamophobia and they get the racism as well. But just to finish off, Dilly, before I go, because I'm going to literally just sign off now. Yeah, all I would say is it ain't deliberate. Maybe there is some subconscious bias there somewhere because I'm not black, Dilly's not black, but it definitely ain't deliberate. We have plenty of black contributors, plenty of black interviewees and guests. We do try and do as many stories pertaining to black people as possible, but sometimes you're right. If I do, like for example, I think in the past you've given me stories about Sudan, and I haven't run with them because in the past our readers haven't been engaged by Sudan like they would be with Pakistan or Palestine because they feel that intrinsic, visceral connection. So it is a case of sometimes I think this story is not going to run. It's not got legs for our readers and our viewers, so I'm not going to run with it. So, but yeah, inshallah, I think we definitely can improve. And with that, I'm going to sign off. And thanks for joining us, Ahmed, for doing us this favor and for saying nice words about us. And inshallah, I'll let you and Dilly crack on.
No,
this is typical Russia, isn't it? He throws in a little grenade
and
then he leaves.
And then he scoffers.
It's worth saying that all those books in the background, he's not read half of those books.
He's not read half of it. He's just done it as like a backdrop. And then look, on this, since Roshan's raised it, bro, yeah, I'll be honest with you. There's a demographic reality we have to accept, right? And that is that South Asians, Pakistanis, Indians, Bangladeshis make up about, I think, 63 to 70% of all Muslims in the UK. So 6 or 7 of us out of 10 just happen to be Desis. That's the first thing. So obviously there's a natural demographic disproportionality there and then. So naturally, us being predominantly UK based, stories about Kashmir, stories about the Rohingya, stories about Bangladesh, stories about Pakistan, stories about India will always have more traction. Then you've got the issue of the fact that Syria and Palestine, but more so Palestine, because there's a scriptural thing there. It's Masjid al-Aqsa, it's Quds, it's where the Crusaders came, we bust them up and then liberated it in 1197, all them kind of things, yeah? And 100%, bro, the kind of omission of the plight of our black brothers and sisters, whether it be in Central African Republic, whether it be in the Sudan, whether it be even in history. When we talk about Islamic history, there is always an omission of the great things that were established by the sultanates and the Muslim kingdoms of West Africa. These things are always ignored, right? So we would be silly to say that that doesn't exist in terms of a racist point of view. In terms of 5 pillars, bro, we've had Muhammad Kahir. Muhammad Kahir is a Somalian brother located in Mombasa. He was our East Africa correspondent. He covered he covered bare news for us. He even covered the whole kind of the Boko Haram Sega when they first came into the scenes. He spoke about the what was happening to Somalians in Kenya. He done a fantastic job, and he was a young budding journalist who had limited resources himself. We have brother Bilal Abdul Karim, a black African American who's in Idlib as we speak, who has written for us and has interviewed for us. In my own podcast, I've had bare black guests. It's not a thing. But we can always do better. One of my favorite contributors at the moment in 5 Pillars is Dr. Sulaiman Ahmed, a Nigerian brother who writes opinion pieces for us about what's happening in Nigeria. So we try our best. We can always do better. And you're absolutely right, bro. There's that situation where we know that stories about Sudan. Well, let's even put Sudan aside. We saw the stories about anything that's kind of not Palestine, not Kashmir, not Rohingya, not Pakistan, not India, and not certain countries in the Middle East don't do well. For example, when there were protests in Algeria, man weren't interested. Our readers just weren't interested. Just weren't interested. Same with Sudan. Obviously, there was a video when there was, the uprisings that happened before the military took over. There was that sister who became like the icon of the movement.
Allah Salah.
Yeah, we posted her video, that did well. But then the actual development of what things were happening in Sudan wasn't popular until there were conversations about the military regime now having conversations with Israel. Then it became popular. Do you understand? So Roshan's right in the sense that we could always do more in terms of black representation in 5 Pillars. And someone asked that question. You said we should have a sister. Someone asked that question yesterday. We have loads of female contributors, Hafsa Kara, Nina Arif, Nishat Ismail, loads of sisters that contribute. But what it is, my bro, Islam has to be a meritocracy. We can't just feel like there has to be a gender quota the man need to take a box. At the end of the day, if we're interviewing 3 people and it just happens to be that a brother or a male is better than the 3, what can man do? I can't just take her on because there's like a quota. But you're absolutely right. We need to be doing more in terms of representing Muslim women and black Muslims, period. That's something we should do. It's a shortfall of ours, and I pray to Allah that we improve it.
Just one, I don't know if this was on 5 Pillars or Roshan's personal Facebook, but I remember Malcolm X's death anniversary, and he put this long tribute where he said, "Great Muslim leader," and obviously Malcolm X, everyone knows, is proud of 2 things: the fact that he's black and the fact that he's Muslims. Now, what we get in the kind of larger African diaspora, sometimes they try to negate the Islam part of his journey. But I also feel on the other side of that spectrum, there's Muslims that try to negate the black part of that journey as well. And I think that in itself, the thing that I love about my religion is I always, and this is no disrespect to anyone of any other religion, they're all children of the book, but I always feel like with say with Christianity, the way it's depicted, you have to kind of park your blackness over here to be kind of a Christian. That's the impression I always got from a young person. And I mean no offense to anyone listening, but with Islam, you can be proud of who you are, wherever you're from. When you go to places like Sudan, it's everyone's black, everyone's Muslim, everyone's proud of that. One of the fastest growing demographics here in the UK are black Muslims. We're starting to see black Muslim culture start to become part of mainstream popular culture. We could have a whole different discussion about whether it's right or not for them to use Islamic terms in rap songs or not. But you can be basically black and Muslim, and both. I'm proud of those things. So I always find it a bit difficult when people try to, non-black Muslims try to tell Muslims, for example, no, now you're a Muslim, now we're all one. Race isn't a part of our DNA. No, race is a part of the existence for everyone. And we have to kind of tackle, to be a good Muslim is to fight for justice, which means you have to fight against racism. And we all know that we live in a society where racism is prevalent, despite the recent report that came out by the government.
Look, I just want to add to that point. I think it's a very important one. I'm glad you said that. There's those who celebrate Malcolm X, rahimahullah, his life, and they try to omit or negate his Muslim aspect. And there are those who are from the non-black Muslim community who try to negate his black aspect, right? And there could be reasons, whether valid or not, from either side. But the truth of the matter is, those beautiful Malcolm X quotes that many of us share is from his nation days, right? Even though he died as someone upon normative Sunni Islam and didn't believe in some of the, perhaps the kind of black nationalist views that the nation had, he died upon those views. But the point is, the quotes that we share of his are from the days of the nation. So it would be unfair to omit that part of it because most of his life was a part of that movement. And praising him for what he did as part of that movement doesn't necessarily mean an endorsement of that organization itself. There's that. And I think what you, correct me if I'm wrong, bro, I think what you meant by part your race, that you're 150 million% right. In Christianity, when Christianity was forced upon hundreds and thousands, if not millions of black slaves from West Africa, just because they believed in Jesus Christ and the Trinity, they couldn't share the church with the white man. The Jesus that they had to worship and had to revere was a white Jesus, like the ones who enslaved them. Islam was not about that, and it should not be about that. And Islam is not there to change culture. Do you understand? West Africa has a rich culture. The Maghreb has a rich culture. The South Asia has a rich culture. All these cultures have certain elements that are un-Islamic because we were all pagans before we became Muslim. So there's no difference in that. Whether you were the pagans of Arabia or the pagans of Hindus or whatever pagans you were of Africa, we were all pagans before our forefathers became Muslim. So there are certain aspects of the culture which will always go ahead, but Islam didn't come to eliminate culture. At least not that part of culture which doesn't really contravene or conflict with Islam. So 100, bro, I'm with you on that. Look, before I say farewell to you, my dear brother, can I kindly ask you just to spend a few minutes perhaps to tell our viewers and listeners and those who will watch this afterwards behind why they should perhaps consider, inshallah, supporting 5 Pillars, bro?
Yeah, sure. There's so much disinformation about Islam, about Muslim women, about Muslim family. And we need as many outlets as possible to counteract that narrative and present a positive image of what Islam is. 5 Pillars has always been that whenever there's a story, even if it's a mainstream story, we will get the Muslim angle. So the general elections that recently happened, Roshan Mohammed Saleh was there, College Green, Westminster, asking, how does this election result affect Muslims? And we are a growing population and we need to know the answer to these questions that only 5 Pillars consistently raises. So yeah, I'd ask you all to support 5 Pillars, because without our voice being heard, we are allowing the message about us to be dictated by those that are very hostile to us. So yeah, we need more outlets like 5 Pillars, but as 5 Pillars at the moment is the only one of its kind in the UK, you need to give all your support that you can to 5 Pillars.
Jazakumullah khair. Ahmed, may Allah bless you, my dear brother. We need to meet in person. I know we have met very briefly.
Once, yes.
But we need
this is before you became a big YouTube star and all of the Instagram and stuff like that.
Bro. But anyway, we need to link soon, inshallah, bro.
Inshallah. And I really enjoy your podcast. I've been wanting to say this to you. I really enjoy your podcast. I really, man. I like the low key one, the odds one, the one with your father. I think is my favorite. So yeah, man.
And we need to have you on soon, inshallah. So send me your number, or send Roshan your number. I'll take your number. We need to link, my bro. We definitely need to link, inshallah.
For sure. All right, thank you.
No worries. Keep us in your du'as, bro. Thank you for your time, bro. Assalamu alaikum.
Inshallah.
That was our dear brother Ahmed, top brother. I've only actually had the honor of meeting him once, many years ago, and you know, he since then has, you know, even contributed towards 5 Pillars in many shapes and forms. He's given us a lot of juicy content in terms of his confrontations with the far right, and a fantastic journalist himself, I must say. Brothers and sisters, before we bring this live appeal to a close, before we go over some concluding comments on social media from this live, wallahi, I really cannot stress enough the importance of supporting an independent Muslim media, one that solely exists to defend Islam, its tenets, its beliefs, its values, its rituals, its ummah. That's why we exist. You know, if there were no attacks against Islam and Muslims, you know, if there was no global propaganda machine to defame, to dehumanize, to demonize Islam and Muslims, 5 Pillars wouldn't exist. We exist solely because this unfortunate reality exists and has been for the last 20 years. Be part of that fight back, brothers and sisters. Be part of that noble fight back. Spend in the cause of Allah. Because this is it. We are here fighting the good battle. Fighting the good battle to defend those things which you and I and over 1 billion Muslims hold sacred. When the Sharia is attacked, when the niqab is attacked, when male circumcision is attacked, when halal meat is attacked, when, you know, the concept of giving da'wah is attacked, when the marital practice of polygyny is attacked. So there's a whole list of things. When the concept of Islamic governance is attacked, when the issue of liberation of Palestine and Kashmir is attacked, yeah, when all these things which we hold sacred to our hearts are attacked on a daily basis, right? We are here to defend it and to advance our narrative. Brothers and sisters, donate generously. The link should be, Roshan, if you could just put it across so we can cover my criff for a little while. www.5pillarjuk.com/live. Our bank details are there at the bottom. If you want to donate via PayPal, please do so. Look, brothers and sisters, we're not asking for a lot of money. We're not. Our target for each live appeal is £500 in one-off donations, which we smashed yesterday, and £50 in direct debits, which we smashed yesterday. And we got very close in our first live appeal. This is the last live appeal that will take place between 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. The next 9 live appeals will be between 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. Tonight could be Laylatul Qadr. It could be a night which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described in the Quran as better than 1,000 months, right? Laylatul Qadr could also fall on a non-odd night, right? We want to gain that ajr, brothers and sisters, so please donate generously. Please dig deep and donate generously. If you're unable to do that because you don't have the means, or you have commitments and priorities elsewhere, or you think that 5 Pillars compared to other organizations and causes is not that worthy in terms of your sadaqah, share the video. Share this live appeal. Forward our broadcast messages on your WhatsApp groups and your Telegram groups. You'll get reward and ajr for that as well, inshallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, and He Azza wa Jal tells us continuously throughout the Quran, that giving sadaqah does not diminish wealth. It is an investment. It is a source of cleansing our wealth and ridding ourselves of our sins. Allah tells us in Surah Al-Baqarah, and whatever you spend in good, you will be repaid in full and you will not be wronged. Let's take this call. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You're through to the 5 Pillars live appeal. You're speaking to your brother Lee Hussain. Who am I speaking to and where are you calling from?
Assalamu alaikum, Dilly. My name is Nicholas. I'm calling from Bradford, West Yorkshire.
Jazakumullah khair for the phone call, my dear brother. I didn't catch your name. I caught the Bradford bit and I caught the accent. What's the name?
My name is Ikhlas.
Ikhlas, my dear brother Ikhlas. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the live appeal. How are you doing, my brother?
Yeah, not too bad. Just a quick one, because I haven't got too long. I wanted to say, first of all, great work. Thank you so much for doing what you guys are doing. Really interesting discussion. And I'm proud of the growth of 5Pillars. And inshallah, you guys will continue to grow and provide us all with an alternative sort of media.
Inshallah.
Inshallah, I'll be donating.
Jazakumullah.
I found it on today. I can't do a sort of grand debit, but I'd rather just do a one-off lump sum for today. And inshallah, more in the future.
Inshallah.
The other thing I wanted to check with you guys was more of a question, right? So I'm talking to a couple of people about setting up a charity.
Yeah.
And one thing these guys are really keen on is they don't want to give people money, right?
Yeah.
Look at the charities, for example, in say Pakistan.
Yeah.
Rather than paying somebody and buying a sewing machine for them, these guys are saying we don't want to buy the sewing machine, but what we really want to do is we want to pay for someone to train people how to sew.
I got you.
They've got these skills long term.
Yeah.
With yourself, obviously I appreciate it might not work, but would you guys consider, just so I can pitch to my guys that I'm working with, would you guys consider maybe setting up a page on your website, or maybe doing some sort of newsletter every now and again, where you set out, we're looking for funds because at the moment we want to, I want to hire someone, or we want to buy some equipment, or we want to do a particular story or something. Is that something you guys would consider? That was my question.
Of course.
You don't have to give the answer to me directly. I don't mind putting the phone down. You can just sort of talk to the audience.
Of course, I will do it. Brother Ikhlas, first and foremost, let me just say a big jazakumullah khair for phoning in, and even bigger jazakumullah khair for your donation, my dear brother. May Allah make you heavy on your scales, and may it be a source to purify your wealth, and inshallah cleansing us of our sins. Ameen. The short answer to your question is I think it's a fantastic initiative not to just give money and buy things, to actually give people real life vocational professional training. Yeah. I saw a wicked video which said, and I think it's from the age-old adage which says, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, teach him how to fish, and he can fish for the rest of his life. And I think with that kind of mindset, if we were to kind of holistically approach that in the charity sector, we'll definitely see far more changes, positive changes in those kind of deprived areas of the Muslim majority world, which we're seeing. Bro, email info@5pillarsurk.com, and in the subject header, do urgent address to Dilly, and inshallah we'll take this conversation from there with regards to how we can help you in your initiative, my brother.
Wonderful, brother. So thank you so much. Keep doing the good work, and respect to you again. Thank you,
my dear brother. Make sure you send that email, make sure you address it to me on the subject header so it gets forwarded to me, bro, yeah? Okay, much love. Assalamu alaikum. That was Brother Ikhlas from Bradford, and we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He gives us ikhlas in the work that we do. The brother donated. May Allah accept it from him. And please, as we bring this live appeal to a close, I urge you all again to donate generously, whether it's a standing order, because we know that the most beloved act of Allah are those which are small but regular. Please set up a standing order. Let's smash that £50 target, inshallah. And if you're unable, make that one-off donation of whatever sum. It could be Laylatul Qadr as we approach the fasting time, iftar time in the UK. Roshan, can I bring you back in? Can we just go over some comments before we wrap up today?
Yeah, sure.
Have you got any comments?
You wanted me to come back in or bring the comments back in?
No, I love both. I'd like
All right, fine. Actually, a lot of the comments are about blood brothers, so it's for you, really. Mohammed Hassan, just some constructive feedback. You have a great channel. However, you need to do podcasts on politics in Pakistan with the current climate and other countries in Asia and the Arab world. That one's for you, I think, podcasts.
But look, just want to say something about Mohammed Hassan. I'm not sure if you missed the segment with Baba Ahmed. Pakistan is possibly the one country that gets the most coverage. One of the countries, anyway.
Yeah.
As does Bangladesh and as does Saudi Arabia and all the places. But of course, We know that stuff pertaining to Pakistan is always popular because of the demographics in the UK and also to do with the demographics of our fellowship. So whenever means and resources allow, we will always do it, inshallah.
Yeah. 3 favorite podcasts. Muhammad Waqas says the one with your dad, Sheikh Asra Rashid, and Kate.
Interesting. Okay.
Omar Sheikh says, modern Islamic Caliphate question, enjoyed your postcard, but wouldn't non-Muslim polytheists, LGBT fight tooth and nail against such a system as they would have different, less rights?
Yeah, let that caliphate emerge and let that reality take place. We can have that discussion then. I'm sorry, it's one of those nonsensical hypothetical scenarios. If LGBT community or like atheists or people don't want to live under a caliphate under Islamic governance because they feel those rights are not, then they have the option to leave, of course, or to live in their own quarters.
I think Amin is referring to Ahmed's video when he stuck it on Paul Golding. Muhammad Waqas again, the likes of Tommy Robinson and Paul Golding are wastemans. They claim to be English but struggle to articulate a very basic conversation without using foul language. The mans are pagans undercover. Muhammad says, when I was in Oman, I met some Sudani people, alhamdulillah, very clean-hearted, supportive, lovely people. Yeah, I've been to Sudan.
Just stop. That's my first cousin from Bangladesh, Tariq.
Oh, okay, right.
These two people all the way from
Well,
Bangladesh.
relatives and extended family watch the show, don't they? Engage. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, I mean, Sudan is actually a country I went to about 10 years ago. I went for the presidential elections, and I was there for 1 month. I got stuck there because there was a volcano in Iceland which erupted. I'm not sure if you remember, and it stopped all international flights. So I was meant to be there for 2 weeks. I ended up staying 1 month. And the Sudanese people are literally the most humble, beautiful people you'd ever meet in your life. Often you hear like these, maybe sometimes tall tales about hospitality in the Muslim world. And when you go there, sometimes you don't experience it to the extent you think you might do. But in Sudan, you absolutely do. People literally will, invite you into their house, give you food, feed you constantly in expectation of no return whatsoever. All right, Robert Carter from yesterday says, hi guys, another great talk. I know there are issues that exist for Black Muslims like community racism. 5 Pillars can hold bad Muslim acts to account as well as defend Islam against abuse. Jazakallah khair, Robert. Is there any other comments? Lots of assalamu alaikums, which I'll just gloss over. A general wa alaikum salam to everybody. Jazakallah khair for following. Aziz Khan says, as Muslims and journalists, how do you balance between raising awareness of issues when it comes to particular individuals and warning ghaiba? This is likely to be a concern for those that donate. Dilly?
Yeah, so Brother Aziz, Jazakumullah khair for asking this very important question. Dr. Salman Butt from Islam 21C, we actually spoke about this at the tail end of yesterday's live appeal. How does 5 Pillars balance covering a story when it comes to raising awareness, public interest, and then not committing backbiting or slander against the Muslims? The calculus to that is basically one where we have to basically weigh the maslaha and the mafsada, the harm and the benefit of covering a story. If a Muslim has done or said something publicly, or if a Muslim organization has said or done something publicly, then there is a Shari'i premise to hold them account publicly. That's the first basis. If something is done publicly, they can be held accountable publicly. Number two, if most of the information that we report on is accessible publicly, we can bring it to the knowledge and the interest of the community publicly. The issue happens when there's something private. When something's happened privately and it has to be that bad and of such concern that it requires the public to know, because the greater benefit in them knowing will prevent a greater harm. Now that happens very rarely, if ever. 99.9% of the times when 5 Pillars covers a story, it's nearly always a charity or a figure that's done or said something publicly. So we are holding them to account publicly, or we are merely reporting the news publicly. With regards to calling out a Muslim charity or something like this, we have a process which we follow, which is private, which is engaging with them, which is giving them nasiha, which is to warn them. And then we have a number of scholars who we then take this particular situation to, and then we make a judgment call on whether it is more beneficial to Islam and Muslims in the community to know or not know. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that is, I would echo what Dilly said. and the expose stories that we do, we weigh up the maslaha. And if for example a Muslim charity, for example, is holding vast amounts of the ummah's money and is misappropriating that money, then I don't think we can be accused of backbiting. There have been a few stories where even myself and Dilly have disagreed. I remember there was a very famous Muslim footballer, I won't name him, who got convicted for drunk driving. I think we had a discussion over whether we should carry that story or not. There was a very famous Muslim YouTuber who, or social media influencer, who took off her hijab, and she said she was going to do it publicly. And again, we had a disagreement over whether to, carry that story or not. I, as the editor, kind of exercised my veto. However, I think since then we have basically formed a Shura Council of some of the most influential and legit Islamic scholars in this country, coming from all the different Sunni traditions. So I think when we even when between ourselves as editors we disagree over a subject, then all we have to do is go to that Shura Council to seek Islamic guidance.
Absolutely. Brothers and sisters, on that note, I will bring today's live appeal to an end. Today is the last live appeal which we'll be doing between 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. simply because for two reasons. More people tend to engage between 11 p.m. onward. And of course, as we know that many Muslims will be up, worshipping, seeking Laylatul Qadr for that extra reward. We want to give you that opportunity to contribute part of this very noble project that we've been working on for the past 8 years. Brothers and sisters, all of you who have tuned in, Jazakumullah khairan. For all of you who have donated, may Allah bless you, your family, your progeny with the best in this life and the next. Ameen. May your donations be a source of purifying your wealth and ridding you of your sins, and may it weigh heavy on the scales on the day of judgment. Ameen. For those of you who are unable to donate for whatever reason, but still tuned in or called in or shared the video, shared this live appeal, may Allah accept it from you as well. Ameen. Brothers and sisters, keep 5 pillars in your du'as. Please keep 5 pillars in your du'as in the sense that Allah takes us and gives us the tawfiq to remain steadfast upon what is most pleasing to Him. That Allah keeps me, Roshan, and our team sincere, and to save us from arrogance and any kind of wrongdoing in the endeavors in the defense of Islam and Muslims. Please remember the oppressed Muslims, the widows, the orphans, the sick, the elderly, the mujahideen, their families, everyone. Remember everyone in your du'as. Please remember the 5 pillars team in your du'as. May Allah accept it from us all. Ameen. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. And brothers and sisters, the special dua that the Prophet ﷺ used to make in these last 10 days is Allahumma innaka afuwun tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anni. Ameen thumma ameen ya Rabb. I will see you all tomorrow at 11 p.m. British summer time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.